Hi everyone, this is Chelsea, and this video is going to be all about reducing fractions. So this is something that we've already covered in class in OSES, but it's going to be a good refresher so that you feel more confident when you're doing your numeracy worksheets that I emailed you. Okay, so let's get into how to reduce these fractions. I have a few examples here that I'm going to show you. Hopefully you find them helpful for later on. So remember that when we're reducing fractions, what we're trying to do is we're trying to show them in the simplest terms. And what that means is that we want to make the numbers smaller. So the way that we do that is we use division, because division makes numbers smaller. Okay, so let's start with this first example here. We have 2/4, or 2/4. So the first step for reducing fractions is you want to figure out what number divides evenly into both 2 and 4. So the number has to go into both of these numbers evenly. It has to be the same number that you're dividing by on the top and the bottom. Okay, so if I look at 2/4, I know that the number 2 goes into both of these numbers, right? Because 2 goes into 2 evenly, and 2 also goes into 4 evenly. So I'm going to divide by 2. Oop, frozen here. There we go. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do divided by 2 on the top and the bottom. Remember, it has to be the same number. You can't do divided by 2 on the top and divided by 4 on the bottom, let's say. That's not going to work. So it has to be the same number. Okay. So now let's figure this out. 2 divided by 2, that equals 1. And 4 divided by 2, that is going to give us 2. Okay, so now we have 1/2, and we can look at that and we can think, can that be reduced more? No, it can't be, so that means that this is our final answer. Okay, let's do another example here then. The next one is 3/21. Okay, so again, you're going to think, what number goes evenly into both 3 and 21? So then you can think, well, the only number that goes into 3 is 3, right? Other than 1, but you can't divide by 1 to reduce. So 3 goes into 3. Does 3 go into 21? Yes, 3 does go into 21, and if you're not sure, you can always check on your calculator. Right? You can always have a calculator handy, and you can do, 21 divided by 3. Okay, and then that gives me 7. As long as you don't get a decimal point, so 7 point something something something, as long as it's just an even number or like a whole number, that means that that number will work. So I know that 3 does go into 21, so I can divide by 3. 3 divided by 3, 1. 21 divided by 3, 7. Okay, and then again, you're checking, can I reduce it more? No, you can't, so that means you're all done. All right, next example. Let's try out 6/30, or 6/30. So now here, what you'd want to do is you'd want to try to find the largest number possible that goes into both of these numbers. So for me, I know right away that 6 goes into 6, but I also know that 6 goes into 30. Now let's say you didn't know that right away. You can also look at this fraction and think, well, I have 2 even numbers. And anytime you have even numbers, you know that you can at least divide by 2. So what I would suggest is, if you don't know the higher number right away, just keep dividing by 2 until you can't divide by 2 anymore. So I'm going to try that here. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So then 6 divided by 2 is going to give me 3. 30 divided by 2 is going to give me 15. Okay, now I'm looking at that, and at first you might think, oh, it can't be reduced because it's odd numbers. But remember, odd numbers can be divided as well, right? Because when you think about 3, 3 goes into 3. Does 3 also go into 15? Yes, it does. So that means that you can keep dividing this. Divide by 3, divide by 3. Okay, now you're going to get your final answer. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And so then that's your final answer. Now you could get to that right away if you had gone over here and instead of doing 2, you might have started with 6, because you might know that 6 goes into both of these numbers. It's just going to help you skip this middle step here and go right to the last number, right? Because 6 divided by 6 is 1. 30 divided by 6 is 5. All right, it doesn't matter. As long as you get the right answer in the end, it's okay. Okay, now I'll just do one last example with you here. Now this one, similar. Okay, let's say we have 40 over 44, and you weren't quite sure which number goes into this that's the highest. So again, you know that it's an even number on the top and the bottom. So you can at least start by dividing by 2. Like that. So 40 divided by 2 is going to give you, 20. 44 divided by 2, you're going to get 22. Okay, now we can, of course, still divide this. And I'm going to do divided by 2 again, because I have 2 even numbers again. Divided by 2, divided by 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Now, can we reduce this more? No, because there's no number that goes evenly into 10 and 11. So that means we're all done. Now, of course, there's a higher number that goes into both of these numbers. That would help you skip this step. So I'll show you that right now. We could also do divided by 4, right? So a bit higher number, but 4 goes into 40, and 4 also goes into 44. So 40 divided by 4, that's going to give you 10. 44 divided by 4, that's going to give you 11. All right, so again, it's just skipping that middle step if you find the highest number possible to go into both of these numbers. But it doesn't matter how many steps you do, as long as you get the right answer in the end. Now, another method that you can use is called the guess and check method. And so let's say we're doing this question down here, 40 over 44. And we're not 100% sure exactly what number goes into these. And we want to guess and check. So we want to use our calculator to think, what number goes into 40 and 44? Maybe you think, does 8 go into these numbers? So then you can check. Sorry, my calculator is a little dark here, but hopefully you can see. There we go. So let's say 40, and we want to try to see if it can be divided by 8. Okay, yes it can. It goes in 5 times. So now we're not done though, because we also need to check the bottom number too, which is 44, because it needs to be able to go into both numbers evenly. So even though we do have 40 divided by 8 as a whole number, let's now check 44 divided by 8 equals. Okay, so now you see this one doesn't work, and the way we know that is because we have a number after a decimal point on our calculator. So anytime you do division and you get a number that has a decimal point with a number after it as your answer, that means that that number that you chose doesn't go in evenly. So that means you can't use it. So in this case, I would think to myself, oh, my guess of the number 8 doesn't work for both of these numbers, so that means I have to try again. And so then you can just keep guessing and checking until you get a number that divides evenly into both numbers. So here you can use 2, like we did here, or you can use 4. Both of them go in evenly. All right, so I hope that helps you to be able to complete your reducing fractions worksheet. It's also going to be helpful for you when you do adding and subtracting fractions if you have to reduce any of your answers. So just remember that anytime you're working with fractions, number one, when you get an answer, you need to try to reduce it if you can. Also, if you have any questions at all, please make sure to email me at my OFE email that you have, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thanks everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.